After about 10 or 12 months of either leaving on a Sunday and returning home on a Friday, or leaving Monday and coming back about the same time frame, in 1982, Herb sent me to Fort Wayne. Kevin, you're only going to be up there a year. For a limited showing in Fort Wayne in 1982, and in 2025 I haven't got out of Dodge yet, so I'm still in Fort Wayne. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you in the natural evolution of the company and its growth, what was the thought process that you were under there that decided that we needed to make a move into the Fort Wayne market?
In order to expand, we were expanding in Indianapolis, but there are two other very definite markets in Indiana. One is North Fort Wayne and one is South Evansville. I personally called in Evansville and found out the only way you can really sell in Evansville, you got to be an Evansville-based company. Fort Wayne, in turn, is a very similar market. And frankly, we had dabbled in that. We had a gentleman who talked to us out of Fort Wayne prior to you coming on, and we in turn decided to give him a shot in Fort Wayne. The problem was he didn't seem to be committed to working. He got himself in financial trouble, and we had to separate. So that left. We had started in Fort Wayne, but it didn't really go anywhere. But it did show us that there was a potential in Fort Wayne. Then we had the opportunity. As you know, I knew your dad, and he talked to me and said, my son, he'd like to see if he could have an opportunity to come with the company. Your dad was a very good supporter of Haggard Stocking. And so when you came online, then as you started going to Fort Wayne, I feel we saw the potential what could happen, but it still goes back to the fact you have to be in Fort Wayne to sell Fort Wayne. So that's where we pushed you to stay in Fort Wayne. And as you remember, the first warehouse we had in Fort Wayne was your garage. And we operated out of your garage. You called until you outgrew that. Along the way, you also took Jeannie, our primary inside person, to Fort Wayne. You married her and took her to Fort Wayne. So now we got a team up there, inside and outside. And because of your type of personality and desire and commitment, you started growing to Fort Wayne. And as we grew, we moved into a facility. Help me with the address. The first one we moved into. We moved to 5130 New Haven Avenue.
Right. And we shared a space where we got UPS each day with a forklift company. Right. I lived there, I believe it was, for a few years before we really had, we as a company were successful enough that we had to get a brick and mortar.
Right.
There's only so much you could do.
And the second spot was
on Merchant.
Right.
Merchant Road was the first real movement where we quote unquote had an office. We had a dock. We had a forklift. We were actually in business and had a location. So that was on Merchant, 4102 Merchant.
Right.
Don't know how I remember it, but it was.
The growth in Fort Wayne is because Kevin and I work strongly together. And I believe this, if you've got somebody you can trust and has a commitment, to me trust is the biggest issue, and the commitment, and then work with them. If you trust them, accept what they got to say, guide them, and don't basically dictate. Well, most of you know we don't dictate to Kevin. And Kevin has these very good ideas. Sometimes it's kind of like a wild stallion. You got to put a rein on him and say, slow down, slow down. But he's done an excellent job over the years in Fort Wayne. It's shown by the growth that we've had in Fort Wayne. Kevin and Jeannie was quite a dynamic team together. He had the best on the inside and he had the best on the outside. And it made it very easy to manage out of the Indianapolis office because didn't have to go up there that often. Kevin, we communicated quite a bit, we still do. But Fort Wayne began to grow, and Kevin started specializing, especially in the medical field, which is something we've never been into. And one thing about Kevin, if he's not going to sell something he doesn't understand, especially carbide. To me, he's probably the best carbide person we had in the company. And carbide is the primary thing for the medical field. So it started growing, and we added people, and it became a family operation in Fort Wayne. His son is there. His daughter has worked for us. It's really became a family operation. His daughter went on into the medical field. His son is still there and does an excellent job. So it's run like I want to run this company, a family-oriented company. And Fort Wayne is a good example of a family-oriented type business there. And so we work good together, and it's been a good growth, and look for new things and always opportunity. One thing in this market, I found out that back a number of years ago when a number of companies filed bankruptcy, we got kicked kind of hard. But anytime Kevin lost the account, he was able to find an account. And so one thing I've always stressed, and that's one thing I stress here, we got a lot of competition out there. It's gotten worse even today, but you got to have a quality product, you got to have service and competitive price. And I think that sets us far above the rest, because the big companies today are interested in price. And I think service is on the back burner anymore. And that's something that we've strived, and we've done it in all of our locations, is that that's why we still have salesmen that know their product. They're not just out there throwing a catalog around and saying going online. We have all the bells and whistles. We have catalogs, we have online, we have B2B, we got B2C. So we can compete in this arena. But it's price, and there's some customers out there that all they're interested in price, not quality. But Amazon is growing, a number of others are growing in our field, but so far we've been able to hold our own. And it's because of quality people, competitive pricing, and the service attitude. So, Kevin, you've done a great job in Fort Wayne.
I appreciate that. And really all that we ever tried to do in Fort Wayne was to open an office Indy North. I mean, for the most part, the principles that were prominent and prevalent in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market is what we tried to do up north. And I believe that the way we attacked it, what our goals and objectives were, that you only do the first thing, or the first time, you only do it once in your life. And the way that we did Fort Wayne, I think, set the stage for our further acquisitions and expansions that'll be mentioned later on in this series. But I think it set the stage and the tone for how we wanted to do it.
Well, that's to me, that's the only way to do it. And I still believe that we will survive with that, with the principles that we follow. It's tough to lose a large account because the price without the thought of quality. But on the other hand, everything that comes around, there's going to be companies that are saying, well, I can't do pricing when I got to have quality. I want to be competitive. There are a number of services that we can offer, but they got to be paid for. Likewise, there's the big companies got to be paid for. These large companies, they operate on 40 to 55% gross margins. We can't. We basically operate on lower margins than that, but we still provide the service. As long as I'm around, I hope to keep that attitude and direction in the company, and because of that, we've been able to expand in some other areas, and it's worked out well. So, if you really want to talk about Evansville, I think Fort Wayne was a good example of what we could do. And we were able to carry that, and we're now able to carry that into the Evansville market. We found a small company in Evansville that was kind of a sideline business of a bigger operation. We were able to acquire that. Mike is our manager down there, and his daughter now works in our business down there, and he's operating kind of like on I think the format Kevin did. You know, if you got a good person, regardless of who they're related to, it doesn't make a difference. And it seems like that when you bring family in, that you know, at least you know what you're getting, and dad is there or mom is there, and they have a desire to try and prove their point. So Fort Wayne is growing. We were able to put a new building up there. We back up at Fort Wayne. Our building we're in now was a new building from the ground up. It was designed for our operation. It's a 12,000 square foot building, and it's functioned quite well. Evansville was the same way. We had to move out of some lease space. Went a little big there, but it inventories a lot of nuts and bolts. It's a 23,000 square foot building. Nuts and bolts are small, but they take up a lot of space. But we have a good crew there now. We have some very dynamic salespeople there. We have commitment, and it's a family deal. I really enjoy going down here. It's a family type deal. You know, Jeff has carried forth the same attitude. He's been here. He's still, you know, I always kid him he was still in training, but he's been here 30-some years. And he's done an excellent job of carrying forth the family and growing it. And we've grown quite a bit. Jeff came in as president before the pandemic, and it's kind of like indoctrination and fire. But he was able to bring us through that, and now, and we're growing. So basically, if you stay with those core values, I believe you can grow. And the core values, again, I keep repeating it, is quality, service, and competitive prices.
Herb, you and I both come from a time of the way we're raised that we know everything's possible, but a lot of things are improbable. Do you really believe that a distributor, knowing what we know from our business and where you brought it and we brought it from nothing, can a distributor really, if they're successful in one or two areas, can we really say that ABC or XYZ distributor can handle Bangor, Maine, Sacramento, California, Terre Haute, Indiana, Indianapolis, Miami, Florida, Rio de Janeiro, Paris, France, Berlin, as these people are all saying we can do anything everywhere? Isn't that kind of incredulous? Doesn't that really say, just because you say you can do it, but is it even possible for a distributor to be multinational and provide what we do to our people?
I think it's possible. It depends on the size you are. The problem is, if you take too big of a bite of an apple, you're going to choke. So it's tempting at times to turn down an offer, let's say in Mexico or Canada, or because of the logistics, because of the not only the logistics, but all the laws and stuff. It's more possible and acceptable, which I feel we're good at, is working within the United States boundary. Frankly, somebody comes in and says, I'd like to open a shop in France or this or that. I'll grin at them and say, not interested. But big companies, it depends on the structure. I mean, when you're talking, in my opinion, you got to be, 500 million to a million to a billion. If they can do it, if they apply the same principles on each individual basis. But a lot of these big companies want one size fits all. One size does not fit all. And you'd be able to work within that. I mean, I was in the food business and franchising. The problem with the franchise, which is, if you expand it, is one menu doesn't fit everything. And the franchise I was in, if you go to Texas, you really want Texas type food. If you go east, you want that. But trying to bring one size fits all will not succeed. So I want to stay at this time within the boundaries. I feel that we can, because we're we're in Waco, we're in we're in Greensboro, we're in Lake City, and we've been able to do it because of the concept is that we put people in place. We in turn provide the service, and we're expanding in those markets. But you got to take it. We have an existing customer. I'm not going to mention his name. Their problem is, in my opinion, they want to grow too fast. They're buying this and buying that, and now they're coming back and say, well, we got to have cheaper prices. Well, the problem is they're cash short. And you can be profitable and cash short. And I think that's their problem right now. They want to grow, but they don't have the cash. They're investing, so the investing is taking their cash to pay their vendors. So it's a dangerous situation. But from Haggard Stocking standpoint, I want to expand our footprint, but we're going to do it under our standards and our way of getting there. And it will primarily be in the United States.
What would you say to we'll just say hypothetically, a manufacturing company in the 48 states that has 10 locations in 10 multiple states? What do you think they should be looking for when they're looking for a supplier? Do you think you go into it, say, I want to get a supplier to handle all 10 facilities? Or what do you think the process should be? What do you think would serve their interests the best?
Well, first off, I would say slow down. There's no way even the big company, if they want to go with all 10 at one time, can institute the principles of, in my opinion, of service and all that, is to take it step by step. If somebody wants to work with us and take it step by step, we can get there. That could be plotting it out and taking a period of time. The other way is to partner, and we have partners out in the market. The only problem I see in a partnership like that, it's more difficult in the long run because you got to start consolidating pricing and all this, and a lot of times some of these other distributors don't have the same lines that you have. I think a better method is to say, hey, Mr. Customer, we can get there. It won't be in 30 days, 60, or 90. Well, let's put a plan together, and that way we can carry this concept and everybody working together. We have the tools, IT-wise, we have all the tools. It's just a matter of educating the people, getting it step by step. We're better positioned today to do some multi-locations than we were 10 years ago. So I think there's boundaries, but I really feel Haggard Stocking is, for our independent distributor, is better equipped than any other independent distributor out there. And when I say independent, is that we're family-owned type. We're not owned by another large corporation. But, and one thing you can do, not only put people there, but if you got enough volume, possibly you can buy another distributorship and indoctrinate them in that area. There's a lot of things, but it's not going to happen overnight. If they're long-term, want to be a long-term customer, and they want to work together in a partnership, I believe it's a partnership we can survive.
My last question to you today is that I'm a disciple of that, and I believe in the service aspect of it. I think we've got the biggest advances we've got is because of service, believe me. And in today's world where prices, anybody can get a lower price. I never sign up to give you the lower price. I sign up to give you competitive pricing, and price is what you pay and value is what you get. But what about now the new generation where the plant manager is 37 years old, the director of engineering is 32 years old. They haven't grown up where service was a factor in how they made their decisions. So they get awed by things outside of service. Can Haggard Stocking compete with these people that don't value service?
Well, I'm not going to fault the plant manager. I'm not going to fault the engineer. The problem with these big companies is coming down from direction from board of directors, from upper management who are not in tune, in my opinion, with the needs and services of the company. That's really what's coming. And the people there are caught in the fact they've got to carry forward the direction of the upper management or they won't be there. So I really think the fault falls higher up the ladder. Now, yes, there's some gentleman who wants to make a name for himself and wants to say I can lower price, but most I've found corporate has come back and said you got to lower your price 10%, or lower your cost 10%, lower this, lower that. First thing they look at is their purchasing, so that they tell the buyer you got to get 10% from your current distribution. So shit runs downhill, and that's basically what it is, a bunch of crap. But it's not really looking at customers, at service. What does the floor want? I think we've gotten away from talking to the people on the floor, the engineers. What do they want? What makes their job easier? What about the product? So I think it really starts at the top. And that's where the problem has started, at the top. Not at the middle, not at the bottom, it started at the top.
But yet these people at the top are states away or countries away. It's hard for at the distribution level to have an audience with them, to talk to them with it, to explain it to them.
Then that's a good reason why you should deal with Haggard Stocking, because you can talk to the top, and you can go from there, and you can get the commitments.
Haggard Stocking's future growth and expansion into areas we're not currently at always comes with risk, but it also comes with great opportunities. We'll discuss this more in the next segment with Herb.